So we just showed you color correcting with the hue offset wheels, or the three-way color corrector. Now I'm going to show you a little bit about color correcting with curves. We've already shown you a little bit about that as I've done some of the other color correction methods, but I'm just going to touch up on this and show you a little bit more about how this works. One of the cool things about balancing colors is that you can watch these RGB parade monitors and use these exact curves to kind of control where these things lie. For example, you can see that probably the brightest portions of these images right in here and in here and in here, that's probably her helmet. These portions of the screen, there, and there, are probably indicating the white of her helmet. And by knowing that if you had pure white, they would all be the same height, this tells you, hey, I've got to bring down my brightness levels of my blue and my green to match red, or bring red up a little bit and blue down a little bit to match green. Let's try that and see what happens to our waveform monitors. As I bring that down, these things will not react in real time, but as soon as you let go of them, they'll react. So I'm just pulling them down a little bit until I get the blue to be right at 100. Now green's a little high too. We'll bring green down a bit, and red's a little it's pretty close. What I'm going to try to do is see this little shape right here. I'm trying to get those three shapes to be the same. So what I'm going to do is bring up this. That's closer. What I need to do is make sure that this little section doesn't go too high above 235, but I'm trying to get these three shapes to be pretty much matching. Now that they are, you can see that if I were to sample that white on her helmet, I've got a pretty darn close match. It's a little bit blue, but as I said, it's reflecting the blue sky above her head, so having a little blue in there isn't going to be a terrible thing. But we've got real close matching numbers definitely on red and green. They're identical, and blue is just a little high. Let's look at our correction. It's pretty darn good. Her shirt, the blue is definitely a little bit higher. Now this part of her shirt is analogous to this part of the curve, like in the midtones of this curve. So if I were to click on this curve here and pull down a little bit, you can see that it adds more yellow to her jersey. And if I go up, it adds a little more blue. You just kind of find a happy medium. If you want it to have that nice kind of sunset yellow feel to it, just pull it down just a little bit more like that, and we resample, and you can see that the numbers are much closer. They're basically identical now. So now you've got a really nice balance on her. From there to there, I think anybody would be happy with that. And you can just see what I did. I didn't really do anything with the green. I brought it down just a little bit. Blue had probably the most change to it, and the red had a little bit of a change to it. If I wanted to mess around with my master, I could do that as well. Let's say I wanted a little bit more pop to this image. One of the great tips that I give in a couple of my color correction books is to create a little S-curve, and you don't want to do much, you just want to do a little. We're going to bring up about a third or a quarter of the way up on here. We're going to bring this up just a notch, and we're going to take the same spot on the bottom part and bring it down just a notch. And now if you look at it, that image really pops. It's got some nice contrast to it. If you want to see what this looks like without this little S-curve, you can just click this little purple box down here. There's with and without, so you can really see that it adds some nice contrast. And if you totally want to eliminate this curve, you just don't like it at all, you can hold down the Option key and click on the purple curve, and then the entire thing goes back to its default. So that's a little bit on how to work with curves in the Avid.